me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Watching the Cardinals getting their asses kicked. I know the team that I just sort of picked for its root against the Cubbies because they beat my favorite team for its 1, 2, 3. Holy crap! It's the most home runs I've ever seen. Oh, Jesus Christ! So the Cardinals have had a lot of success over the years, just more than most teams usually should have. Since 2000, the Cardinals have been in the postseason, I think, 12 times, I believe. Might be wrong, but I think that's it. They've been in every year except for 2003, 2007, 2008, and 2010. Not a lot of teams get to say that. Not really a lot. I think really the only other team that's been in the playoffs more than since 2000 is the Yankees. And they've only had one losing season since 2000, and that was their dreadful 2007 season where just a ton of crap happened, that one guy got his eye hurt, LaRusha got a DUI, and then one of our guys got killed in a car crash. So it was just not a good season for us. It went terribly, but that's really the only bad season we had in the last several years. And we've been to the World Series quite a few times. We went there in 2004 where the Red Sox just kicked our butts. We went there in 2006 when we won against the Tigers. We went there in 2011 where we surprised everyone by beating the Rangers, and we were just one strike away 2 times and still won. And we went there in 2013 when, of course, the Red Sox once again beat us. So it's been pretty fun. Just a lot of fun, and it was once again fun watching again this year. They won 100 games, and it's really surprising to see that because their offense is just all year it was terrible. They usually had trouble just trying to score 5 runs when pretty much all the other playoff teams would get 8 runs a game, 9 runs, 10 runs, and we're just sitting there going trying to hit as much as we can. But the way we won games was through defense and our pitching, which were both incredible. Just that's the way we won games. Because once in a while our hitters would hit a few home runs or so, but it didn't happen a lot. And then we did have that September skid. That's where things started to get. I don't know if they can do this year, just win the World Series, but because when their first series against the Pirates during September is when their skid started. They lost 2 out of 3 against them, then they lost 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, then they lost 3 out of 4 against the Reds, who are one of the worst teams this year. So it was terrible, but they eventually got out of it and still won the division and won 100 games. So it's been fun. So then there's the Cubs. The Cubs have not been lucky over the past century. But since 2000, the Cubs have been, I think, in the playoffs 2003, 2007, 2008, and this year. That's all. And they've had quite a few losing seasons. It hasn't been fun to be a Cubs fan. And in 2003, of course, there was that big game. They were 5 outs away from the World Series. Just fans were happy, screaming. And then Steve Bartman and all those other people reached out for the ball. And then people got mad, and they eventually lost the game and the series. So they didn't go to the World Series. And then they destroyed that ball and hoping that they would go next year. But instead, it was their rival, the Cardinals. And then the Red Sox beat us to beat their curse, and then the next year the White Sox beat their curse. It was, I think, torture for them for those couple years. So then they got swept, I think, by the Diamondbacks in 2007, and then by the Dodgers in 2008. I might be flipping those around, but it hasn't been as fun for them. And to make matters worse, they haven't been to the World Series since 1945. 1945. That was the year we won World War II. The year Truman became president. The year that Jackie Robinson was offered to become the first black baseball player. So that was 70 years ago. 70 years ago. So the youngest Cub fan who went to the World Series to see their team just lose is now 70 years old. So they're now a grandpa or grandma. Wow. Now they haven't won it since 1908. 107 years ago. There's probably not one Cub fan left who saw their team win the World Series. Not even one. I mean, they died eons ago. So, I mean, back in 1908, radio was not even around. Willie Howard Taft just became president. So, or he was becoming president, I believe, next month when he got elected. So, that was quite a long time ago. None of those players are left anymore. So, now we go into this year. It's the first time, pretty much ever, that the Cardinals and Cubs ever meet in the postseason, because for most of baseball history, the two teams couldn't meet. I mean, it wasn't, I think, till 69 or 68 that two teams would go on to meet each other, then whichever one would go to the World Series. I think it's before that, just whoever won the National League and whoever won the American League and with the best record would go on to the World Series. But then they made another thing, whatever we call it, a round. Then they made the division and the wild card, and that's when it became possible that two teams from the same division could face each other. And it took 20 years, but the Cubs and Cardinals finally faced each other. So, how did it go? The first game for the Cardinals was actually pretty good. So we got some runs, hit some home runs, and we were able to beat them, I believe, by 6-3. I might be wrong. I forgot the scores, but it was a fun game. And John Lackey, the pitcher, we weren't expecting much from him because he wasn't terrible all year, but he wasn't great, just our favorite pitcher or anything. So we weren't expecting much from him, but he made a great performance. So good job for Lackey on that game. He did good, and we did just good in that game and got a 0-1 lead. Unfortunately, that would pretty much be the only big excitement for us for the rest of the series. So, Game 2. Our next pitcher, Jamie Garcia, who did really good all year, just collapsed. It was like the first game he ever played or something. He lost his mind in that game. And you can tell he wasn't doing that good throughout even in the first. But then in the second, he let 5 runs score. 5 unearned runs. And we couldn't believe it. What's wrong with him? And he did get help too. He got help. He got help from Mr. Wong, who made a stupid error that pretty much just cost a lot, so he got help. So it's not all his fault, it's also Wong's fault. But that inning was terrible, and he got taken out right after that. I'm pretty sure he felt bad. I mean, because it was a big loss. It was pretty much what made us lose the series, I think. And after the game, it was said that he had stomach flu or something. I don't know. I think they might have been making an excuse because it's a playoff game. You do not take those chances. I mean, if someone's kind of feeling a little sick, you take them out of the game. I mean, if it was just a regular game in the middle of the season, sure, let them play if they want to, but if they're sick, don't take that chance. Take them out. So, it was just a terrible game, but we did actually almost come back. I think it was almost about 6-3 the final, so we still got runs. It wasn't all terrible, but we still lost. So the series shifts to Chicago, and this was another bad game. Our next pitcher, Michael Wacha, who pretty much guided us to the World Series 2 years back, he also collapsed. And the year before, he also got a big loss because he was Mike Matheny sent him out, our manager, and he sent him out on a very close game. He hadn't pitched in over about 20 days or so. I think we were leading about by 1, or the game was tied. I forgot, but he let some people on base, and then the next guy hit a home run, and the Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant. So that game was terrible. Mike Matheny gave us that loss. It was a stupid decision that even a 5-year-old could see, but he clearly didn't, and we lost. And he wasn't too great in this game because, but it was not his fault too because 4 of our pitchers let 6 home runs go. 6 home runs. And I think I read that was a record, I think, for the Cubs. So, good performance from the Cubs that game. We just didn't show any life from our pitchers. We actually did score quite a lot. I think the final was 6-8, I believe. If we just scored 3 more, just 3, the series would have gone back to St. Louis. So, then there was Game 4. We again sent out John Lackey because he had that great performance in Game 1 and our other pitchers just weren't looking up to it. Because Wainwright couldn't pitch full game, Martinez hurt himself a couple weeks ago. So we were very limited on our bullpen. And the guy who was originally supposed to start, Lynn, had to come out on the other game because of the pitcher doing bad. So it just had to be like that. It started out good at first because one of our hitters hit a home run. So I think it was I don't remember, but we got a 2-0 start, so it was good. Maybe this game will actually go back to St. Louis. No, we can't have that. Eventually the Cubs tied it, then they got in front. Then we got in front again, so yeah. Or no, we tied it, never mind, but then the Cubs got pretty much in front again just 5 minutes later or so, so that's where I pretty much gave up. I was like, okay, we're not in it this year, just our offense sucks, our pitchers are just doing terribly now, I give up. We lost the game, what was it? I think 6-4? Yeah, 6-4. And the Cubs went on to the next series. The funny thing is that our pitching was spectacular all year, and our defense. And then our offense wasn't that good. This time, it flip-flopped. Our offense was actually pretty good. Not as good as the Cubs, but still good. While our pitching and defense just collapsed. And the only thing I could think of is that they were tired. They've been performing all year because of our offense not being that good, so we had to rely on our pitching, so they were tired, they just couldn't put it up anymore, and they need the off-season off. So, jeez. That was the series, and we lost it. So, but I gotta hand it out to the Cubs. They tried, they won, they were the better team, so congratulations to the Chicago Cubs for winning the NLDS. You proved to be better than us this year, so you were the better team. We deserved the loss. We deserved that loss because just the performance from us was just terrible. Terrible. You guys deserve the win as much as it pains me to say that. So, I think they're going to go on to fight either the Mets or the Dodgers. I'm not sure if the game's playing right now or not, but I don't care who wins. Whoever it is, I just hope they beat the Cubs. I don't care. I mean, whoever is watching this who's a Cubs fan, I want you to be beaten. I want the Dodgers or Mets to just kick your asses. And just, hopefully Steve Bartman will be at these games or something. Just, he can stick his hand out again and they'll lose. So, then the Royals and Blue Jays, I don't care too on that. Whoever, I wouldn't mind Toronto winning it all. I mean, I have nothing against them, so, but Still, I don't care. As long as it's not the Cubs. But with all this brings about the Back to the Future thing. And Back to the Future 2, they predicted that the Chicago Cubs would win the World Series in 2015. So it's a weird coincidence that they happened to make the playoffs this year after about 7 years. Pretty weird coincidence. And now they've won their first playoff series since 2003. So it's getting pretty weird. But in the movie, they won against this team called the Miami Gators. There isn't a team called the Miami Gators. We do have the Miami Marlins, who were the Florida Marlins just a few years back, and they beat the Cubs in the 2003 NLDS. So I think that was also kind of weird, I guess. And there's also the Tampa Bay Rays, but they're not it. And what are they called? The Marlins are part of the National League, not the American League. So Florida and Chicago World Series wouldn't even be possible. But it would still be weird if they won it all, because just get this, that the guy who wrote that joke is a Cardinals fan. One of the writers for the movies is a Cardinals fan, and he predicted that the Cubs would win the World Series in 2015. And he just didn't do it as a prediction, he just only did it as a joke. He never thought this would happen. Who would? So now it's just a little joke from a movie from the 80s might become a reality. Just, how is that possible? How is it possible? So, jeez. The Cardinals have had a lot of success over the years, so I guess I shouldn't be too mad. I've seen them win the World Series 2 times in my life. I'm 24, and I think they've only had about 5 or 6 losing seasons since I was born. And I was born in 1991, and they've only had about 6 losing seasons. And I've seen them win the World Series 2 times, I've seen them go there 4 times, and I've pretty much seen them in the playoffs every year. A Cubs fan has never seen their team win the World Series, who's in my age, or their father's age, or their grandfather's age, or maybe even their great-grandfather's age. Even though they're dead. But that's how long it is for the Cubs. They just generation after generation hasn't seen their team win the World Series or even go. So I'm still going to go root against the Cubs. Yeah, I know it's a bias, but even though they were a better team than the Cardinals, I hope they just get swept by the Dodgers or the Mets. And it should be interesting this year because pretty much every team that's going this year, whatever way it goes, hasn't won since 1993. So whoever wins is going to have their first World Series in over 20 years. And it's actually going to be the first World Series since 2009 that the Giants or Cubs, or not the Cubs, the Cardinals haven't been in. I mean, I think in 2010 it was the Giants, then the Cardinals in 2011, then the Giants in 2012, then the Cardinals in 2013, then the Giants in 2014. And it's also going to be the first time since 2007 since it was a team other than the Giants, Cardinals, and Phillies, because the Phillies were in the 2008 and 2009 World Series. So it's always been a decade since we've seen a team other than those 3 guys for the National League be in the World Series. So it should be interesting. Very interesting. And I just hope it's not the Cubs. Just, sorry Cubs fans, I hate you. I hate the Cubs. Hopefully their curse continues for another 100 years. I don't want them to see the World Series. I mean, you guys got to see the Blackhawks win in about 3 times in the last 5 years or so. And you beat the Blues, so I was hoping we could get our revenge for the Blues or something like that. And if we face you next year against the Blackhawks, please let the Blues win. I mean, we let the Cubs win, we let the Blackhawks win last time. Please let the Blues win, because even though the Cubs haven't had a World Series in 100 years, the Blues have never won a Stanley Cup, not once. I mean, I think they went there in their first 3 years or 4 years, and they lost all of those. So, and they haven't been back since. So I think that would be 1973 or 1972. So they're doing pretty good this year. So hopefully they'll get there and just win it all, because there's not one Blue fan who's ever seen their team win the Stanley Cup. But the Cardinals need to make a lot of changes this season. We need to improve our offense a lot, because it was just terrible this year. We had to hope that Wainwright and Martinez are in 100 great shape, because we lost Wainwright at the beginning of the season, and that did kind of hurt us. And if we were at full health, we probably would have won over 100 games. We only won 100, which was still the first time since 2005, but we probably would have won over 100 if it wasn't for all those injuries we had all year. So hopefully next year will be better. Hopefully it won't be as close, because I think that both the Pirates and Cubs were only about 3 games behind us. So I mean, one of them actually might take the Central this year. I probably actually wouldn't mind that, because it's usually the wild card that wins it all these days. So Cubs, Pirates win the Central next year. We'll take one of the wild cards and we're going to win the World Series. So I don't care. But so into Cardinal season, it was still a good one, even though it ended in great disappointments. Cubs fans, don't expect to win. Expect the Dodgers or the Mets to win. Then after that, if the Cubs do end up winning the World Series, if they do that, congratulations. Your team deserved it, I guess. Back to the Future actually predicted the future, and we won't be able to say 1908 anymore, or make fun of your curse or anything like that. But it's still going to take you about 8 or 9 more World Series for you guys to catch us. We have 11 World Series, so it's going to take a while. So, So, anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and go Cardinals. Bye.